Here.
Mr. Kurtolo? Here. Mr. Metcalf?
Here.
Mr. Paul?
Here.
Mr. Villamagna?
Here.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
All members of council are here and accounted. Will the clerk read the letter or the call for the special meeting?
All honorable members of council, pursuant to the authority of section 731.44 of the revised code of the state of Ohio and section 111.02 of the codified ordinances of the city of Steubenville, 1957 as amended, you are hereby notified that a special meeting of city council will be held on Tuesday, September 8, 2015 at 7:30 p.m. in council chambers. This meeting is to be held for the purpose of ordinance number 2015-81 by the Finance Committee for its second reading, and ordinance amending ordinance number 2015-50, the existing table of organization of the city of Steubenville. Sincerely, Frankie Anderson, Clerk of Council.
You heard the communication dated September 2nd, calling for a special meeting for this evening, September 8th. Hearing no objections, it will be entered into the record. Hearing no objections, it is so ordered. Ordinance number 2015-81 by the Finance Committee, Mr. Metcalf, Mr. Davis, Mr. Johnson, for its second reading.
Ordinance number 2015-81, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2015-50, the existing table of organization of the city of Steubenville.
You heard the second reading of ordinance number 2015-81. The third and final reading is scheduled for next week, September 15th. If adopted by City Council, the effective date of the ordinance will be October 16th. That will conclude the call for this special meeting. We will now have a motion for adjournment. Mr. Metcalf.
Your Honor, I make a motion this time to adjourn the special meeting and enter into the sunshine part.
Second.
It's been really moved and second that we adjourn the special meeting. Roll call.
Mr. DiLoretto?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Kurtol? Aye. Mr. Metcalf?
Aye.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. Villamagna?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
So moved. The special meeting is now adjourned. We will now move into the sunshining of legislation. Let the record show that all members of council are still present, and we will start off sunshining of legislation with Mr. DiLoretto.
No report.
Thank you, Mr. DiLoretto. Mr. Johnson?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Kurtol?
Yes, Your Honor, I have reappointments. Reappointments for several of the commissions and committees under the Historic Landmarks Commission, the reappointment of Judy Brancazio to 302 Maxwell Avenue. Her term will expire September 2018. And also to the same commission, Kimberly Georgettis of 1204 Maryland Avenue. Term will also expire September 18.
It's been regularly moved and second that two reappointments to the Historic Landmarks Commission, Judy Brancazio and Kimberly Georgettis, term to expire September 2018. Roll call.
Mr. DiLoretto?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Kurtol?
Aye.
Mr. Metcalf?
Aye.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. Villamagna?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
So moved. Motion accepted.
Yes, sir. I also move that we accept your recommendation for Planning and Zoning Commission for Mr. William Hendricks. This is a reappointment again for the Planning and Zoning Commission. William Hendricks, 310 Maxwell Avenue. Term will expire September 2020.
Second.
It's been regularly moved and second that Mr. William Hendricks be reappointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission, term to expire 2020. Roll call.
Mr. DiLoretto?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Kurtol?
Aye.
Mr. Metcalf?
Aye.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. Villamagna?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
So moved. Motion carried.
Yes, Your Honor. Also, for the Board of Zoning Appeals, I move that we accept your approval for reappointment to the Board of Zoning Appeals for Tom Wilson, 3150 Homewood Avenue. Term will expire September 2020. And Tom Timmons, 214 Opal Boulevard. Term will expire 2020.
Second.
It's been regularly moved and second that Mr. Tom Wilson and Tom Timmons be reappointed to the Board of Zoning Appeals, term to expire September 2020. Roll call.
Mr. DiLoretto?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Kurtol?
Aye.
Mr. Metcalf?
Aye.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. Villamagna?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
So moved. Motion carried.
Yes, Your Honor, up under the Fair Housing Commission, I'm making a motion that we accept your approval for a reappointment of the Fair Housing Commission for Mr. John Barnes, 1811 South Fifth Street. I think that's incorrect.
One too many ones in there. 181.
Second.
I'm just going to leave that without the address because I still think that's the incorrect address. John Barnes, term will expire 2020.
Second.
Thank you. Seconded.
It's been really moved and second that Mr. John Barnes be reappointed to the Fair Housing Commission, term to expire September 2020. Roll call.
Mr. DeLoretto?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Berthold?
Aye.
Mr. Metcalf?
Aye.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. Villamagnum?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
So moved, motion carried.
And last, I'm making a motion to approve the reappointment of the following persons for Building and Engineering Appeals Board, and that's Roger Wells of 336 Lovers Lane, term will expire September 2018, and Ralph Claus of 202 Ray Barton Boulevard, term will expire 2018. Those are both reappointments. Thank you.
It's been really moved and second that Roger Wells and Ralph Claus be reappointed to the Building and Engineering Appeals Board, term to expire 2018. Roll call.
Mr. DeLoretto?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Berthold?
Aye.
Mr. Metcalf?
Aye.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. Villamagnum?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
So moved, motion carried.
Your Honor, if you would allow me to also remind people that this Saturday, I'm sorry, not this Saturday, this Thursday at 11:30, we will be having a Pride Committee meeting with the Subcommittee of Beautification, and the three topics, and everyone's welcome to join, not just members, but everyone's welcome. The three topics will be a downtown activity for Halloween night, the annual mom sale of the Beautification Committee, and light up night for the city of Steubenville. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Curdaw. We'll continue on of sunshining legislation to Mr. Metcalf.
Yes, Your Honor. Four pieces of legislation. The first two are under finance. The first one is an ordinance amending section 191.04A of chapter 191 of the codified ordinances of the city of Steubenville, Ohio, providing for the continuing the wage and profit tax of the city of Steubenville from 1 3/10% to 2% for an additional 5-year period, allocating the additional 0.7% increase to be used as follows. $500,000 to street improvements, $300,000 for capital improvements and equipment, $100,000 for parks and recreation capital improvements, and the balance to general fund. Be placed on the ballot on the primary election on March 15, 2016 for a vote by the people upon said ordinance authorizing the Board of Elections of Jefferson County, Ohio to conduct said election. The second piece was resolution submitting the question of the continuing of the 0.7% municipal income tax levy for an additional 5-year period to the electors of the city of Steubenville, Ohio, for their approval or rejection at a primary election to be held within the city of Steubenville on March 15, 2016. Such levy being for the purpose of paying for street improvements, capital improvements, and equipment, parks and recreation, capital improvements, and general fund. Just as a point of clarification, the other Ken will be bringing those in, and that is just a renewal levy that we have to do. And because of the general election being earlier next year, because of the presidential election, we have to get it on the ballot. Thanks to Gary and to Dave for getting all this in time so we can have it ready for next year. Under service, I have two as well. The first one is an ordinance authorizing the city manager to advertise for bids for the 2016 city street hot mix resurfacing improvement city project number 2016-100, subject to right to reject any and all bids. Any rebidding that may be required, authorizing to enter into said contract with the lowest and most qualified bidder, authorizing payment therefore, and to execute contracts as required. And the next is a resolution authorizing and directing the city manager to make application for a grant from the Ohio Public Works Commission to be used towards the funding of the city of Steubenville hot mix resurfacing project, city project number 2016-100, to execute contracts as required. under Mr. Dolak's division. Obviously, it's our streets improvements. Council has in front of them. Mike, can you take records for a second here? The list of the streets. Any questions you have, you could address them to Mr. Dolak. We've talked about them before, so let's get her done. Okay. And then lastly, I have 2 reappointments. First of all, Mayor, your request to have a reappointment to the Income Tax Review Board, and make a motion that would be Greg Agresta, 2448 Alexander Avenue East. Term will expire September 2018.
Second.
It's been regularly moved and second that Mr. Greg Agresta will be reappointed to the Income Tax Review Board, term to expire September 2018. Roll call.
Mr. DeLoretto.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Ms. Berthold.
Aye.
Mr. Metcalf.
Aye.
Mr. Paul.
Aye.
Mr. Villamagna.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye. So moved. Motion carried.
Your Honor, next, with a lot of fanfare, I'd like to move to reappoint the following person to the GMHA Board, Mr. Gerald Young DiLoretto.
Mr. Metcalf, before you make that appointment, I need to point out to City Council, as everybody is aware, earlier this year, Shirley DeCarntonio, my secretary after 22 and a half years, retired. She did leave me some instructions, and on the master list of appointments, I had Mr. DiLoretto's term was expiring in September of 2015. And going through the records compiling all of this, I noted that it was really in May of 2016. I did notify the Metropolitan Housing Authority. Everything is fine, but if this motion could be retroactive, effective, and the term will expire then on May 2020.
All right, so going back with a lot of fanfare there. Now we're going to make a motion to reappoint to the GMHA Board, Mr. Gerald Young DiLoretto, retroactive to May of 2015, resides at 528 Arden Avenue, and the term will expire May of 2020.
Is that with pay?
That's with battle gear.
That'll be it. I hope I'm here.
It's been regularly moved and second that Mr. Gerald DiLoretto be reappointed to the Metropolitan Housing Authority Board, term to expire May of 2020. Roll call.
Mr. DeLoretto.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Ms. Berthold.
Aye.
Mr. Metcalf.
Aye.
Mr. Paul.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Villamagna.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
So moved. Motion carried, and if you don't mind, Mr. DiLoretto, you will abstain from the vote, if you don't mind.
He said no. He's voting no.
Thank you, anything further, Mr. Metcalf?
Your Honor, nothing else this evening. Thank you.
We'll continue on then to Mr. Paul.
Yes, Your Honor, I have one item here. Through the hard work of Chief Capaldi, our fire captain, or our fire chief, as you know, it's in the paper that we're going to go with try to get a new fire engine and a grant that he secured. The grant is good for $357,000 for the cost of the vehicle, which the city only has to come up with $18,000. And with that, I would like to place an ordinance, or ask an ordinance to be authorized entering into contract with Steubenville Corporation to build the new fire engine to be purchased with FEMA grant dollars and declaring emergency. Why I want to declare an emergency, and this is from the chief, and I agree with him, the state bid is only good for 30 days. So we need to do this sooner than later. They already waived the price increase that occurred while we waited for the grant. And it already takes 8 months to build this vehicle. Any delay in passing the ordinance will extend this time frame. So I think we need to have this engine. The old one's what, 28 years old, Chief? 28 years old and counting. Okay. So, and I want to declare it as an emergency.
Second.
Oh, yeah, that's next.
Give his stage for the box.
Anything further, Mr. Paul?
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. We'll continue on to Mr. Villamagna.
Nothing this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Villamagna. Mr. Davis?
Yes, Your Honor, I have a few things here. 3 out of finance, an ordinance authorizing directing the approval of expenditures without a purchase order of over $3,000 pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code, Section 5705.41. Secondly, an ordinance amending section 191.04A of chapter 191 of the codified ordinances of the city of Steubenville, Ohio by providing for continuing the wage and profit tax of the city of Steubenville, Ohio from 1% to 1 3/10% per year for 5-year period, allocating the additional 0.3% increase to be used 85% for salaries for municipal employees and 15% for street improvements, to be placed on the ballot on the primary election on March 15, 2016, for vote by the people upon said ordinance, authorizing the Board of Elections of Jefferson County, Ohio, to conduct said election. Third, a resolution submitting the question of the continuing of the 0.3% municipal income tax levy for an additional 5-year period to the electors of the city of Steubenville, Ohio, for their approval or rejunction at the primary election to be held within the city of Steubenville on March 15, 2016. Such levy being for the purpose of paying salaries of the municipal employees and making the street improvements. Okay? Then I also have one appointment. This appointment would be the mayor's appointment for the Port Authority. I make a motion that we accept the mayor's appointment of Mr. Jim Emmerling, 4804 White Oaks Drive. His term would expire in 2019. Second.
Second.
It's been regularly moved and seconded that Mr. Jim Emmerling be appointed to the Jefferson County Port Authority, term to expire August 2019.
Mayor,
Yes, Mr.
I have a couple of questions about this. Can I ask it now?
Sure. Sure.
Do I have to stand up? I did a little bit of research and I contacted some of the members of the Port Authority, and I found a letter here from the County Commission dated 2013, December the 19th. And if you bear with me, I'll read this. It says, "It is with regret that I must make the following comments regarding my reasons for not funding the Community Investment Corporation."
See, I see.
Is that the proper word? For 2013. First, let me state that the following comments are not a reflection toward Mr. Bob Chapman, who took the chairmanship of the CIC when the divisiveness of the CIC started, and I have the utmost respect for him. In recent years, however, concerns by the commissioners concerning the operation or the procedures of the CIC have been questioned. For example, Mr. Jim Emmerling of EM Media has been one of my concerns. Mr. Emmerling was quoted in the Wednesday, December the 19th, 2012 Herald Star paper as stating, "I think we've done a damn good job," referring to the operations of the Community Investment Corporation. It is no wonder Mr. Emmerling thinks this, since his company, EM Media, has received over $297,000 from the Community Investment Corporation for media campaigns on behalf of the CIC. Granted, this was not all profit, but he made money from the CIC. The problem is this: the jobs he received were seldom, if ever, put out to bid to get competitive pricing. Because he was a member, he got a good deal. That's not fair or ethical to the taxpayers or the companies who might want to bid on the job. I and others raised our concerns about this when we found out and did not make them public. We went along but complained, hoping they would stop. Kim Klein, who works for the Community Investment Corporation, and she might not want to state this, stated that she mentioned that these deals should be placed out for bid and was told that's not how we do things. Jim's a member. She stated maybe that's how you do things, but it's unethical, and I agree. So the conclusion is Mr. Emmerling and his company, or his company, got almost $300,000 in deals from the Community Investment Corporation. No wonder Mr. Emmerling wants the CIC to survive. Mr. Emmerling was also part of the rebellion to go against the nominating committee of the Community Investment Corporation, who had individuals in mind to replace a Mr. Ken Perkins and others who were in leadership roles. Mr. Emmerling tried to get a union leader to be the chair of the Economic Development Organization here in Jefferson County. Some of the commissioners, while not being anti-union, protested this move and did not think our chair of economic development should be a powerful union official here in Jefferson County. And as we all see, I believe the commissioners were correct. This leads me to my next point. The next big mistake of the Community Investment Corporation was the Riley project at the industrial park. The commissioners are in charge of the industrial park. $1 million building was going to be built with many tax dollars, but this will not cover the complete cost. Somebody at the CIC, at the request or urging of the same union official who Mr. Emmerling tried to get to be president of the Community Investment Corporation, did not bid out the contract for the building and to make the project a best project which guarantees quality work but also increases the cost of the building. The point in this decision was made without the vote of the Community Investment Corporation or the vote of the commissioners. 4 companies were handpicked by someone within the CIC to get quotes for the building. When the commissioners found out about this, they were furious, as was the potential owner of the building who was going to help pay for the construction. The closest quote to the estimate was $600,000 over the estimate. The point is this, and we brought the matter up to the Community Investment Corporation board, that you do not get quotes this way and handpick your contractors, especially if tax dollars are being used. Legal, maybe, maybe not, but certainly unethical. Some people within the CIC still do not think they did anything wrong. In fact, I have not heard one person from the CIC state this was wrong, except the commissioners and Mayor Dominic Mucci. We are talking about $1 million project. Therefore, when you put together the no bidding deals with Mr. Emmerling and or EM Media and this latest potential fast deal with one of handpicked contractors, I decided I could no longer support the unethical decision being made by the CIC, and that it was and is this time for a new economic development organization. That is why I supported the newly created Jefferson County Port Authority, and I'm in favor of funding them, and hopefully this organization will become self-sufficient. We have heard also that the newly formed Port Authority does not have Wintersville's interest. Let me point out that 3 of the 9 board members have a Wintersville address, and that was signed by Commissioner Graham. That was in the Herald Star, and it has come to my attention that he did resign from the Recreation Board without fulfilling his commitment to the Recreation Board. And also it came to my attention that some of the board members from the Port Authority had contacted you, and they also had concerns about his appointment to the Port Authority. So with that being said, you can put it up for a vote. I just wanted everybody in here to be aware of this letter and the other comments.
Thank you, Mr. Bill Magna, and I will have comments, but there is a motion and a second on the floor to place Mr. James Emery of 4808 White Oaks Drive, term to expire August 2019, to the Port Authority. Mr. Deere.
There's a lot of information right there, which is brought to my attention. I know he resigned twice. I think there's 2 sides to every story.
There is.
Before I vote, I heard this side, I want to concern the side. I mean, I don't want to get no hassle with the Port Authority. We're trying to bring this community together.
Absolutely, Mr. Diaretta, and I'll make it short, sweet, and to the point. As noted in the letter that Mr. Bill Magna made reference to, it states that Mayor Dominic Mucci was involved in a part of this. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, we have a lot of talent within our community. And if you dig under those rocks and you want to pull back the curtains and all, you're going to see none of us are perfect. I am a firm believer it is time to build a bridge. And more importantly, we need to get over it. To move this community forward, we need to bridge those gaps, build up the consensus, and move forward. That's why I'm placing the name of Jim Emerling to the Port Authority Board. There's a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Mr. DiLoretto?
Abstain.
Mr. Mr.
Well, I haven't heard the
Johnson?
other side of the story.
Well,
There's two sides of the story.
What other side of the story?
Well, Bernie has it.
The accusations, the references in the thing is somebody should be in jail with it. And that's simply not true. You know as well as I do, there is a movement to expand the CIC board and to create a port authority. With that thought in mind, the city of Steubenville partnered up with Jefferson County and we formed a port authority, which is our new economic development. And in my opinion, quite frankly, Mr. Ed Lumen and the CIC board was doing an economic advantage and opportunity for our county and for our community. And I was quite pleased with their services. But that was a consensus, that's the movement we went into, so we moved forward with that. Continue with the roll call.
Mr. Johnson?
No.
Ms. Kurtall? Aye. Mr. Metcalf?
Aye.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. Villamagna?
No.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
So moved, Mr. Jim Emmerling will be appointed to the Jefferson County Port Authority, term to be expired 2019. Once again, I want to thank the members of council for accepting the recommendations from my office. As everybody is aware, all the people that was either reappointed or appointed this evening serve at no compensation, and it's a community service. I do want to make one other point. As I've been building up consensus, I did send an email to all the members of council about my appointments this evening. If you noted on the slip, the original email that I sent out last week, we also had Mr. Jerry Burrell for the Civil Service Commission. If you notice, it's not included tonight. And doing my research and finding out about Mr. Diaretta and all, Mr. Jerry Burrell term is really expiring September of 2016. So that will come before you next year.
Mayor?
Yes.
I have one more thing about the appointment. Did we replace Mr. D'Anibal?
No, Mr. D'Anibal has not officially submitted his name. I have been on the search for an individual. In fact, as of even earlier today, and I wish this wouldn't be public. Anyhow, I've been trying to get Mr. Pete Shelton, I don't know if you're familiar with Mr. Shelton or not, to fill that term. It's going on that Civil Service Commission. It's going to take a special person. I already spoke to one. They refused.
He was the lawyer for the
Declined
Civil
to accept
Service years ago. Wasn't he the lawyer for the Civil Service Commission years ago?
Probably about 25 or 30. Yeah.
Take it as system.
So he has the experience there, but he turned it down earlier today, and I am going to make a call tomorrow, so I should have an appointment coming up within the next week or two for the Civil Service Commission. But you're absolutely correct. It's not official yet. I got to get a letter from Mr. Dean.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else about the appointments? If not, that will conclude sunshining about legislation. I do know that Mr. Bolin wanted to give a report.
I do, Your Honor, and I appreciate.
Mr. Bolin, if I could just one other, this Mr. Diaretta's appointment, I do have a letter from Metropolitan Housing Authority. I'll give to the members council about the dates and the times just to make it official. I'm sorry, Mr. Bolin.
Thank you, Your Honor, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to respond to comments that were made at last week's council meeting during the miscellaneous reports section. These were comments regarding the safety service wage tax and our police department, and I appreciate council's patience. It's going to take a few more than just a few moments, but I will try to summarize as best I can. Last Tuesday, Councilman Johnson and with the agreement of Councilman Villamagna called for an efficiency review of the police department before any additional officers are hired. And with all due respect, I did want to state that, in my opinion, efficiency in the police department is not the problem that needs to be solved. The problem is drug use, related crime, gun violence, and a lack of resources for the police to fight this crime and keep our residents safe at the level they need and deserve. The police department, I hope we would all agree, has responded heroically to our crime problem and has made outstanding arrests and progress over the last 20 months. Indeed, they achieved a reduction in crime, as we all know, from 2014 to 2013 by 13%. In the year 2000, the police department had 49 officers. The department made 969 arrests. In 2014, with 38 officers, the department made 1,499 arrests. That's a 55% increase in arrests with less police officers. In my opinion, this does not sound like a department that has efficiency problems. But we most certainly do have a gun, drug, and lack of resource problem. The solution is not a study, but is additional crime fighting and safety-related resources. Safety service wage tax would provide these resources at a minimal cost. Unfortunately, further study of the crime issue, in my opinion, simply kicks the can down the road further. The safety service wage tax is an actual solution that would move the city forward. Also, at last week's meeting, the METI report was once again mentioned. And it's important to note, I believe, that this report is over 3 years old now. The administration has reviewed this report numerous times and has incorporated those suggestions that were helpful. However, at this point, the administration has moved past the study. It's time to move forward. Our crime-fighting expert is with us tonight. He's sitting right over here, and his name is Chief McCafferty. At the meeting last week, it was stated that the safety service wage tax is not vital to the city's crime-fighting efforts. It is unnecessary. As I recall, it was added that the city had sufficient tax revenue to adequately fund the police department and that the city needs fiscal restraint. However, what was not mentioned was that the city receives almost $1.2 million less from the state of Ohio each and every year in local government funds, personal property tax revenue, and state tax revenue that we used to receive annually in the past. So this is really not a fiscal restraint issue on the part of the city, but in reality, it is a drastic reduction in revenues that the city used to receive, but no longer receives, and does not have those funds to provide vital services such as police and fire protection to its citizens. The amount of annual revenue estimated to be generated by the safety service wage tax is $1.2 million. So what's being proposed is actually a replacement of the funding that used to be, but is no longer provided by the state of Ohio to our city. Our city has seen dramatic increase in gun violence, drug use, drug-related crime over the last 15 years. Unfortunately, the city has reduced the number of police officers by over 22% during the same time period. A reduction in police officers, while crime is increasing, has never been an effective strategy for fighting crime for any city. And it isn't for the city of Steubenville. Last week, there was a call for the city to change its crime-fighting plan. I would argue that the change that's needed is to increase the number of police officers we have protecting our citizens, fully fund our safety forces, and stabilize the city general fund. Again, this can be achieved through the plan associated with the passage of the safety services wage tax. In 2000, with a population of just under 19,000, our police department had 49 officers. In 2015, at a population of roughly 18,659, the city currently has 38 officers. Again, a reduction of over 22% in manpower. Yet, we have meeting after meeting where we talk about and wonder why there is a rise in crime, particularly the surge in gun violence, drug use, drug-related crime. The only solution that's been presented in council, in a council meeting, in public, has been the safety service wage tax. It was stated in a recent meeting that the city can't tax its way out of this problem. Well, we certainly can't cut our way out of this problem either. We've tried that with reducing the police force by 22%, and I would submit it is not working out well for us. Now's the time to add officers, give them the tools that they need to stabilize our city finances so that the city can move forward. We often talk about leadership in meetings. An important time for such leadership on this issue was 2 months ago, when Council's Finance Committee was discussing what, if anything, to put on the ballot to add officers and stabilize our general fund. I would respectfully remind Council that it was the administration that showed that necessary leadership and proposed a plan not only to reverse the trend of reducing officers in the face of rising crime, but to propose adding 3 officers and to stabilize the city's finances. Sadly, Council did not close ranks and unanimously support this plan, and this lack of support continues today. As I recall, the only comment made at that time as an alternate plan was suggesting that we have more workshops on the budget. And again, with all due respect, and I mean that sincerely, as with more studying of the crime problem, the time for workshops is long gone. We need solutions, and we need them now. Safety service wage tax is such a solution. It was also mentioned by Mr. Johnson that he would oppose any layoffs to the police department. Well, that is certainly my goal as well. But to not have a plan to stabilize the general fund and over time and believe there will never be future layoffs in the police department is not realistic. And if the police department is the last to be cut, then do we really want to be in a community where we cut everything else? The city has made drastic cuts in personnel over 15 years, and the level of service has declined. There should be no mystery to that. To those opposed to the safety service wage tax, I would ask what additional cuts would be proposed now in order to adequately fund the police department. Would we seriously propose cuts in health department services to our citizens? Would we cut more in fire and emergency services that safeguard our citizens' lives and property? Are we suggesting that we cut the street department further? Are we suggesting that we cut or go back to the days that we didn't have a Parks and Rec director or department? These are all services that are funded out of general fund. This doesn't sound like a strong plan to me for improving our city, attracting investment, promoting economic development, and moving forward. In my opinion, our employees are our most important asset because they provide vital services to all of our citizens. It's that simple. Moving the cuts around simply, again, is kicking the can down the road. However, our problem is that the road ends in 2017. For years, long before the current city manager was here, the city knew and had been aware that 2017 was going to be a year of great fiscal difficulty. However, with the exception of the safety service wage tax, we've not heard any viable plan for stabilizing the city's general fund. As you will recall, the city received an upgrade in its bond rating from Standard & Poor's in 2014, up 2 levels from A- to A+ stable. A strong bond rating is an essential component to improving the city's ability to invest in the community with infrastructure improvements, ability to contribute to reductions in crime, and capital improvements. Cities do not achieve improved bond ratings and clean audits with awards of distinction, such as what the city will receive for 2014, and achieve a budget surplus for 2014 without exhibiting fiscal restraint. The general fund is proposed to have a negative cash balance in 2017. If we're serious about moving the community forward and retaining our bond rating, we would take steps to stabilize the general fund. Yet the comments this past Tuesday did not mention the city's overall financial future. If there are other plans out there, other than the safety service wage tax, and these other plans contemplate use of the safety fund to solve our staffing and general fund issues, I would encourage the proponents to reconsider. To rely on a fund with no dedicated recurring revenue source is simply not responsible. If 4 officers are funded out of this fund with no other revenues, this fund would also likely have a negative projected cash balance in 2017, right along with the general fund. This is no way to move the community forward. Will adding police officers reduce crime? Well, we have empirical evidence on our side with the safety service wage tax. For a year or so now, the city has added, as everyone is aware, additional patrols and significant resources towards our hilltop neighborhoods. What's been the result? Significantly reduced levels of crime and improved quality of life in these neighborhoods. This is the same plan envisioned with the safety service wage tax. It was mentioned last week that the city needs to reach out to the county to develop a plan to open up more jail cells. I think the city has done quite well over the last 2 years in reaching out to the county to find solutions. However, this is a county jail. The city has budgeted $192,000 for housing and medical already. Our residents already pay taxes in support of the county justice center and jail. The city, as we all know, has had to make hard choices for our budget, and I would respectfully request that the county do the same and prioritize more funding, if possible, to open more jail cells in the county jail. The safety service wage tax will cost the median household approximately 21 cents a day, and someone earning $50,000 a year will pay about $2.40 a week for improved fire and police services and a stabilized financial foundation. The general fund cannot be permitted to go negative, as this would likely mean fiscal emergency for the city. So without the safety service wage tax, the city will have to dramatically reduce services. I share our citizens' concerns about the current level of services, but without the wage tax, existing service levels would decline further. Some have said it's scaring citizens. To the contrary, I think citizens prefer hearing straight talk from their leaders. In summary, the safety service wage tax replaces the $1.2 million that the state no longer provides to the city each year. It would add at least 3 police officers. It would stabilize the general fund for the long term. It would provide additional training and education opportunities for police and fire. It would replace police cruisers in poor condition so we can better respond to our citizens. And it would add security cameras in crime hotspots, among other things. I respectfully urge all of council to close ranks and support this plan to move our city forward. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you.
Thank you, Mr. Baldwin. We will now move into public forum.
Your Honor,
Yes, Mr. Bill Magna.
can I respond to my
Mr.
part of
Magna?
Well, I know, I consider myself, well, I'm not really an expert, but you might say I am a little bit. I've been 39 years on the police department, 25 of them on the city police department, to which I was on the FBI task force, and I worked in the juvenile department, the narcotics division, the detective division, the traffic division, and most importantly, the patrol division, because the patrol division is the heart and soul of the police department. It's that simple. That's where, those are the guys that take the beating. Everybody else gets the credit, but the patrol officers are the ones that do all the work. Now, in 1976, we had 36 patrolmen. I can go by, I could be here all night long giving you the statistics of what we had in 76, but in 76 we had 36 patrolmen. In 2001 we had 32 patrolmen. In 2015 we had 29 patrolmen. So in 39 years we had less patrolmen. In 1970 we had 30,771 people. In 2014, we have 18,303 people. We have 12,468 people less than we had in 76. Now, this METI report, which I have talked about it several times, and has anybody on council saw this besides me?
I saw it.
Did you?
Yeah, I can't wait for the call.
No, no, I'm this whole thing.
Just say it.
Not that, not what you did.
No, I haven't seen that.
The whole thing.
Just say it.
That was just the bullet point. That's what we got. Now, May 1st, 2012, a professional interviewed 42 police department employees. 100% of them stated there was morale issues. 89 of them stated, 89% productivity issues. 100% abuse of sick time. 10% isolated drug issues. 92% said appearance. 62% said fair good public relations. 78% said lack of supervision. 93% said favoritism department-wide. 89% of the police, 89% of 42 police department employees singled out one employee, and 71% identified a group of 4. Now, I get calls all the time from patrolmen because, to be clear, we have a good police department. I think that we have lack of supervision, and I'm not saying that. What did I say? What was the percentage? 78% of them say there was a lack of supervision. So you got to include, there are some supervisors that was interviewed too, so 78% of them. Now, I still get thank you calls from these guys. They tell me things that happened that were wrong. They fear retaliation because I understand exactly what retaliation is on the police department because I suffered retaliation when you're there. When you're the patrolman and you say something that's wrong, somebody's going to retaliate against you. The supervision is going to retaliate against you because that's just the nature of the work. That just ain't here. That's all police departments nationwide. I believe that we could be more efficient just by some of the things, and this report here tells the whole story, which I'm not going to read this whole report. But I believe that we have enough personnel here. I truly believe that. And I believe that we cannot tax our way out of this. Now, the decreasing crime on Lay Bell, let's thank who we got to thank. The Sheriff's Department, the Ohio State Highway Patrol, BCI, and our police department, because we put extra guys out there. Not that they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing up there. Like I said, the patrol division is excellent. But there's other law enforcement agencies up there. So let's say the whole story. The OSP is bringing down the crime rate up there, so is the Sheriff's Department. Now, I believe that we could do a lot better than what we do. For 8 months, 9 months, however long, because I'm a very bad judge of time, I've mentioned prostitution. We didn't have any prostitution. There was nothing going on. The Herald Star says there's 10 to 12 women up there working. Nothing's being done. Now, something can be done. And we had a sting in 2008, and the paper said we do them every once in a while. Well, the last one we did was 2008. If we're setting up a sting, we could go after the drug cartel in Mexico faster than what we're going to knock off 10 street-level prostitutes. A one-year rookie, and we got a policewoman that's here. She could be used, but we don't do it. Why, I don't know. That's beyond me. But the finance part, I'm not a professional. I listen to a lot of stuff that Mike tells me about the finances. But I think we have a lack, and I'm a professional, just like nobody ever seems to want to know what I got to say about the police department, but I think I was there long enough and I can say these things. The wage tax levy is not the answer. There's other ways. In the workshops, I've been asking for a workshop since I've been here. Mr. Bowen says, we're way past the workshop area. Really? After all this time? Now we're past the workshop area, well, that's, at least you realize that. But I've been asking for it, trying to get it, and nobody wants to do it, so.
Thank you, Mr. Bill Magna. Any other member of council, Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to, there has been other plans submitted. In public, I have personally said that our fire department is too large. That if you just look at the facts and the numbers, let's take Weirton. Weirton employs 23 firemen. They pay 23. We pay 40. The biggest county in Belmont County, Martins Ferry, pays 1 fireman. East Liverpool pays 12. Dover pays 18. New Philadelphia pays 22. These are all cities that care deeply about their citizens and provide fire service. They do it with substantially less people than we do. So that is an area where, why does it take 40 firemen in Steubenville to provide service when Weirton can do it with 23 people? Weirton's larger than us, and they have the same geographical area. I've also mentioned the health department. I said it's a duplication of services. There are over 250 cities in the state of Ohio. There are over 700 villages in the state of Ohio, yet only 37 cities have a health department, because most of them combine with the county. And I know we're running a study, but we're still incurring $250,000 a year to maintain that health department. So when you say no other plan other than the safety levy has been submitted, that's not true. Now, the safety levy was adopted. I realize my position's in the minority, and I accept that. But to say no other plan has been submitted, when repeatedly I have mentioned it, the fire department has taken me to task in this meeting, in the newspaper. So if I never mention it, how am I being taken to task in the paper? So that's the numbers are out there. Are we spending all of our money efficiently? I still say no. So to say we're spending every dime, we can't do nothing better, I think everyone needs to look in the mirror, because everybody can do better.
If not, we will move to public forum. Is there anyone wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state your name and address. If not, Mr. Metcalf.
Dr. Honor, I move to adjourn.
It's been regularly moved and second that we adjourn. Mr. Powell?
Mr. Loretto?
Aye.
Herzog? Mr. Metcalf? Mr. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. Romano?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
So moved, we adjourn.